All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Happiness Breakthrough podcast and video cast. I'm excited to have Joseph Kimball on here today. And Joseph has got some great stories that I'm really looking forward to hearing. He's been in direct sales. He's been in equine dentistry, and that's going to be a story. But he's also a horseshoer, a rodeo roper, an all-around gentleman. And so I'm really looking forward to hearing more from him and more of his story. And so Joseph, just first and foremost, tell us a little bit about you. Who is this guy?
Oh, just a guy that believes in the human spirit. I think at a very young age, I was taught that there were no limits, that I could do anything that I really wanted to do. And I'm not saying that I've done a lot or done really great in life or am the most successful person, but I do know that if you do believe you can do something, that you can accomplish it. And I've been doing it my whole life, whether it's been in the horse world or in the direct sales world, or I had some really big health issues early on as a young 40-year-old guy. So I think adversity comes with life. And a really great guy told me one time, he said, adversity is mandatory. Misery is optional. And I've always thought that was a really profound thing.
I really, really love that. I really love that. And I hope everyone already, 2 minutes into this podcast, I hope you hit rewind and listen to that again, because that is exactly how people overcome great challenges. But you said something. You said that you were taught that life has no limits. How were you taught that?
I had a father that was my hero. And every day, he would tell me that I could accomplish those things that I wanted to do. He just exuded it. Everyone that met him knew that they believed that they could, and that he liked them, that he was going to help them if he could. And so he just taught me that there was no can't, that whatever it is, I wanted to be a quarterback on my football team, and there were several people in front of me. And he looked me in the eye and said, if you do the work like it depends on you, and then you pray like it depends on God, he says, it'll happen. And some unbelievable things happened, and I did end up being the starting quarterback, even though I was 5'9" and slow and white and had all this stuff against me. And I played one of the better teams that ever went to my high school, and it was a great experience. But I overcame quite a bit of adversity just to accomplish that. So I don't know, my father definitely is the reason that I am the way I am about that.
Well, and I love that when you can look back on your own life and say, yeah, my dad, my father, I call mine, he's my old man. He called his dad his old man. And now my boys call me, they don't say, hey, dad, they're all, hey, old man. But it's, we learn in our home how to be successful. And there's a recurring theme I've found in many people I've interviewed and many people I've coached, is that when a parent just gives absolute words of, maybe not affirmation, but really words of, I believe in you, I know that you can do it, it really shifts and changes. It moves mountains. And I happen to know that you're also a coach. Where do you find is really helpful when someone's going through a difficult time and they just feel like they're downtrodden, overwhelmed? What are some things that you find that helps inspire someone?
I've been blessed this year to help with my daughter's basketball team. There's a guy that was the head coach, and he was such a positive guy that he had such a great system. He's a genius, a basketball genius. And the more I talked to him, the more I realized that me being associated with him was going to help me way more than it was going to help him. But that being said, this year talking to those girls every day on the varsity basketball level, I've had the privilege of trying to get them to believe in themselves. I believe that's really my goal, is to help them believe as much as I do that they can accomplish the goals that they have as an individual and as a team. And so the other day I sat them down. We were all sitting around the circle there, you know, at midcourt, and it was mid-season. And mid-season, not everybody's really excited about all the things they've accomplished because they wanted to score more points or get more rebounds or win more games. And I said, what do you think the difference could have been? And so I encouraged them to look in the mirror, and I realized that if each one of them had only made 20% more of their 2-pointers and their 3-pointers and their layups and their free throws, that all of our games were close enough that we would have won every game had everybody just made 20% more. And I encouraged them not to look at the coach or their teammate, but to look in the mirror and figure out, what can I do better so that we can win? And these girls are so responsive and hardworking and have great attitudes that they have dug in and really improved in the last little bit. So I just try to get people to understand that if they think they can, they're right.
Wow. If they think they can, they are right. The antithesis is also true. If they think they can't, they're right. But I really like that you focused on that whole, you know, the person in the mirror. What can they do better? Focusing on what they can control and what they could have done to elevate their own performance. And, you know, I find that in building a team, in coaching, in leading huge organizations, it's that same mentality. It's that same principle to do that. Now, you shared a really interesting story the other day about adversity. It's, you know, about overcoming a challenge. And I was watching your live video, and I really liked what you had to say. I was wondering if you could share some of that with our audience. Oh,
Man, there
boy.
was quite a bit of things in that video, but I think what you're talking about is the so what video.
Yeah.
I call it the so what. And that's because, you know, in life, we spend a lot of time focusing on the wrong thing. If somebody thinks that your podcast isn't cool, or you need to do this or you need to do that, and so they give you some negative commentary, and so if you start focusing on that, you wouldn't have a podcast. You wouldn't be able to help anyone because you would be so focused on the people that are offended. And I said, so what? They don't understand what you're trying to do. So what that they don't like that you got a leadership degree and that yours is called happiness. Something about your podcast is about happiness. They don't understand your vision, but you do. And you have to focus on, why are you doing this? Because if you do this for the right reasons, you are going to help so many people believe. You're going to help so many people overcome their insecurities and be able to control themselves in a manner that brings them happiness. Because that's really what happiness is about, is being able to control ourselves with our conscience and with our spirit, and not letting addiction or procrastination or the easy way out rule, but let our will rule and our mind rule, and not our body.
Really, life is a mind game sometimes. You know, sometimes we get in our head, and it's interesting. You never win that battle. You never win the battle in your head. It just, it's not until you decide to control your thoughts, control your impulses, control what you want to focus on, that you begin to really get out of that. So, you know, if a younger version of you, you know, as I'm learning about you, you are successful in a lot of different places and avenues in life, and I just want to be very clear. Success to me is not necessarily determined by your bank account. Success has to do with so much more than that. It's about a level of perseverance and achieving your goals and your dreams that you set out for yourself. If a younger version of you came to you today and you could mentor the younger you, what advice would you give your younger self?
Man, that's a great question. One that I've asked myself a few times in life, but honestly, I would say to me, you can do it. There's a saying I came up with, and I don't think anybody's ever said it before, so it's mine. But this is what I would say to a younger version of myself, and that is, quit wondering about if you can do something and worry about if you're going to do it. Will you do it? It's not in life, can you do something, but will you do it? I used to wonder if I could dunk a basketball. I was 5'10" and white. I used to wonder if I could do all kinds of things, if I could become a pro roper. I used to wonder if I would overcome my heart condition. I was always spending time wondering, can I do these things? And if I could talk to a younger version of myself, it would be, quit worrying about if you can and just go do it, because you can do it. Will you do it? And so I think that that's probably the best advice I could give to a younger version of myself, is to quit thinking about, can I, and just go and do.
Yeah, that's powerful. You just brought up the health and the heart. Can you tell us more about overcoming that challenge, overcoming that phase of life?
Well, I was about 46 years old, and I lost a lot of weight. I was down to about 165, and I looked pretty gray, and I couldn't walk to the barn without resting. And they said I had pneumonia, and they said all kinds of things, but it turns out that I had a congenital heart problem. Congenital means I was born with it. Your aortic valve has either 3 little leaflets or 2 leaflets. They call it a bi or a tricuspid valve. And I was born with a bicuspid valve, and the sides got what they call stenotic or calcified. And so my heart was having to work really hard just to pump. And so I needed a valve replacement. And in that period, when no one knew what was going on, I was just, I couldn't walk to the barn without resting 3 or 4 times. I was at the National Finals Rodeo helping a world champion with his horses, and there's 10 nights there. And on the 9th night, I literally passed out in the horse trailer, and a friend of mine came and got me, and I flew home, which was probably a bad idea the next night, and I ended up going to the hospital, and they found out that I needed a valve replacement, and that a virus had attacked my heart, and my heart function was down to 10%. They
Wow.
didn't think I was going to live. I died twice in the process after the surgery. And can you come back from congestive heart failure? My doctor said, will a third get better, a third stay the same, and a third die? And literally the reason that I got better is because there was no other option. I had a 7-year-old daughter, and I had a wife, and I had a family. I had another daughter that was 16, and I just couldn't see being done with that. And I would not even entertain the thought of not getting better. And I got better a lot faster. My heart came all the way back. And I've been able to do things that a lot of guys my age don't even try to do. So extremely blessed, but it was because of all the prayer and positive vibes. Everybody believed I would get better. And sure enough, in about 4 weeks after the surgery, I was back on a horse and gathering cattle outside. And I had started roping a couple weeks after that. And it's just kind of a crazy, amazing story of a lot of people that believed in my recovery. And a lot of people came to my service and helped my family feed the horses and clean the stalls and do the things that I couldn't do. And that my wife was tied up trying to help me nurse me back to health, and still had a job. It was a pretty amazing time in my life of learning to let other people serve me. It was something that was really hard for me to let go.
That's a really hard one, that learning to let others serve you. Pride gets in the way. And, we sometimes say to ourselves, I can do this, right? We spend so much time pumping ourselves up. I can do it. I'm able. I'm capable. I'm strong. I'm this. I'm that, right? And we really spend a lot of time on that, which is great in positive psychology. It's great. It's a mindset shift, but there's a dark side. There's a negative side to that. And that is it produces this ideology of we are capable to do it on our own. And real strength comes from, I can do it, but we can do it faster. We can do it better. We can do it, and we can go further. And that's a hard shift. What was that journey for you to learn to rely upon others for that period?
It was extremely difficult because I literally had no choice. And sometimes, and then after it went on for a while, it really got to where I really appreciated those people. And those people, when I got better, didn't want to quit helping. They begged me, please don't fire us. Please let us come to the ranch and help you every day. And I said, well, I'm better. I can do it, but we love doing this, and we love helping. And it was an amazing service project, if you will.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The thing that keeps coming to mind is cowboy ethics and the code of the cowboy. Right. And I just love some of the law of the cowboy life is writing for your brand and being faithful for that. But also, coming to the rescue of your neighbor, coming to the rescue of someone in need. How has this helped you have more of a servant heart? What do you find yourself, now that you've had more service, do you find yourself wanting to give more?
Definitely. Maybe I should just share, I used to be what they call a day worker. And a day worker in the cowboy world is a guy with a truck and a trailer and maybe a dog and a good horse or two and a really good saddle. And they come to work that day to gather strays and gather cattle or do whatever the ranch is going to do that day. And it usually involves a horse and a dog and a cow and a horse and a trailer. And that day working doesn't pay that great. It pays about, maybe today it might pay 150 a day, but back then it paid about 100 a day. And you had to bring your own truck, your own trailer, your own horse, your own saddle, and your own dog. And you better have a pretty good dog. But in that culture, when the neighbor's bull gets on your place or on the place you're taking care of, you gather him. You gather him, even though it's happened 5 or 6 times already. You gather him, you put him in the corral because you don't want to breed your cows to his bull. That's why you bought your bull, is so you could breed your cows to your bull. But you learn to forgive your neighbor. He's not trying to be on top of you. And he learns that you're a great person because every time the bull gets on your side, even though you're dead sick of it, that you gather him and you put him in the corral, and sometimes you put him in the trailer and you take him back home. And 2 weeks later, there he is again. And so you learn to forgive. You learn that maybe your neighbor's been sick and you didn't even know he was sick, but he couldn't fix his fence because he was sick, and that's why. But if you hadn't gathered his bull and if you hadn't took him back, then you would not even know that you were serving your neighbor. And in that environment, you really learn how to forgive and how to help each other, just because neighbors help each other brand and do all kinds of things, and they become like family. And so if we treated our neighbor next door and just didn't see him when we drove by, but we actually helped him take the garbage out, or we helped him mow his lawn if he was feeling bad, or if we did something for him, we would learn to really have a more empathetic heart toward what he's doing and where he's coming from. And we'd all get along a lot better, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's that love your neighbor. Truly, what does it mean to truly love your neighbor? And there's a boy. We could talk a whole hour on just what does it truly mean to love your neighbor and the importance of that. But I think there's a reason why Christ said that. Personally, I think there's a reason why that was right at the top.
No doubt.
it's because when we learn to love our neighbor, it, I think that's what we're called to do. I think it's what we're asked to do by just being on this planet, by virtue of who we are, of just being. This is not a religious podcast, but for those of you that listen, you know that there's always something in there that we talk about, and we are sons and daughters of a heavenly Father. We have a God, we have somebody, and we are sons and daughters of Him, all of us. And if we really believe that, it sure does make looking at our neighbor's bull who broke through a fence a lot easier.
Yeah, for sure.
So you've also been successful in the direct sales world. Tell us a little bit about that.
A long time ago, I did direct sales, and I let somebody else's actions just make me decide that I didn't want to do that. But that was a big mistake, because I learned so much about the world in direct sales, because every time you interview someone, you learn what they do for a living. I literally have sat down with doctors and lawyers and coaches and teachers and ranchers and accountants and people with psychology degrees and psychiatry degrees. Literally every walk of life, I've literally interviewed them. And so I learned so much about how the world turns just by meeting so many different people and trying to help them obtain financial freedom, which I was seeking myself at the time. And I kind of turned away from that and wanted to just be happy. I wanted to do something I loved to do. Not that I didn't love direct sales, but I wanted to do horses. And so I figured out how to start colts. I had been taught that by my brother-in-law, who married my sister when I was 3. He gave me a horse when I was 4, and I've been a little cowboy ever since. But I wanted to go back to those roots, and so I did. And I learned how to shoe horses, do their teeth, train a colt, team rope, train a team roping horse, and I'm half a point away from being classified as a professional roper. And so that in itself has been this unbelievable education. And had I not walked away from direct sales, I might have never got that. But lately, I did find some people with great integrity and with a great plan. And so it's really helped me, because I realized why I got all that training is so that someday later in life I would use it. And I've been using it in the last several months, and it's been a great blessing to me, because I don't know what you know about it. Obviously, you know a lot about it, but in direct sales, we get emotionally attached. We back to the so what video. So what? They don't understand what we're doing. It's just a numbers game. You just show it to everybody, and you just don't get attached to whether they say yes or not. Because most people that you contacted them because you like them, and they like you, and you're not going to change that just because you wanted to share something special with them that's special to you, that you want to do with them. If they say no, you see them at the roping, or you see them at the ball game, you're going to be just the same as you ever were. But if you don't do the numbers game and get out of your comfort zone and learn that being uncomfortable is a great thing for personal growth, then you never, ever really live life. You live in this little world where you don't want to have any pain. Let's not have any pain. Let's just do this the easy way. And when you get out of your shell and share something with somebody, it makes you grow. And being uncomfortable is something that helps everyone grow in every aspect of life.
It really does. It really, really does. Be okay being uncomfortable. The life is filled with uncomfort, you know, uh, which is ironic because, we get home after a long day and what do we want? We want comfy clothes. We want comfy socks. We want comfort food. We want the comfort of our couch or a bed or whatever. And we sit here and we say, oh, won't it be great once we're comfortable? We were even taught in our youth, just work hard so that you can be comfortable. But I want to present that that's actually limiting belief. a limiting belief is striving for comfort. I would much rather strive to be charged, strive to be energized, strive to be pushed, because I don't want to be stagnant. I don't want to be mediocre. I want to be constantly developing and growing. What advice would you give to someone that is starting off their roping career? What advice would you give them?
Man, I've got a long ways to go to be up there with them really great pros, but I have learned how to catch, and I have learned how to ride a horse correctly. And so if I could say anything to a young roper, and I do some schools. I've done some for Kansas State rodeo team. Um, there's a little girl coming to the house today that wants to learn how to rope. And she's 11 and she has a pretty cool little horse. But what I tell them is you have to get good instruction. You can't, we talk about swinging, and I here's my hand going, this is a good swing and this is a good swing. It's kind of a joke in our family because there's only one way to do it right. And if you learn that correctly from someone who understands how to teach you, then you can progress. But you're going to have a hard time progressing if you get false information. And a lot of people are really, in the roping world, their intentions are good, but their understanding of how to do it right are limited because they haven't paid the price to learn it correctly. I'm very thankful that I had a chance to teach both of my daughters to rope, because when you teach a young girl how to rope and she's your daughter, now safety becomes the biggest concern. Safety. I don't want my little girl to get hurt, on my watch. So you learn to teach things and do things correctly so that the kid doesn't get hurt. And really, I tell everybody this all the time. If you can't do it slow, you can't do it fast. So learn the correct principles, go slow until you perfect them, and then you can go faster. And then you can go on to, you got to start on the ground. You got to start on a dummy. But really, the thing is to get the right instruction, go to work, start practicing, set a time limit. Every day you're going to do a certain amount of reps, and then you can grow and you can get pretty good at it pretty fast.
All right. So we were just obviously talking about roping, but I had no idea I was going to ask you that question, but you just gave the secret to business success. You just gave the secret to entrepreneurial success right there. Is we'll start with get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Get good instruction. Pay the price to learn correctly. Practice slow until you perfect and then go faster, and set a time limit. Do it every day. If you do those principles, I don't care if you are in direct sales, if you are opening up a dental practice, if you want to be a world-renowned speaker, if you want to be the absolute best CEO of a Fortune 50 corporation, those principles apply to you.
Amen.
Amen. I'll tell you, Cowboy knowledge, it is an untapped market. And I just want to encourage everyone, go hug your local cowboy. Well, probably not. but at least go thank them, because there's a lot of great hard work and knowledge out there about how to be successful in life. And I just want to thank Mr. Joseph Kimball for coming on here today and sharing some of that knowledge. Before we go, are there any daily habits, anything that you do in the morning or anything that you do every day that really sets you up for success?
Man, lately I really, last summer, it was brutally hot around here, and I'm a horseshoer. And I had to get control of the heat and beat it. And so I came up with a formula that really has changed my life. And that was, I tried to be out of the house and gone just after daylight every day, no matter what I had going on. The winter kind of spoils us because the weather's good all day. But in the summer, if I didn't get done by 12:30 or so, and I wasn't in the shade, it was almost physically impossible to do my job. And so I had taken on an extra 45 horses last summer into my 6-week rotation. And so I wasn't going to get them all done if I didn't just every day use that time frame early in the morning. And it literally changed my life to get out of bed and do what I had to do before noon to survive. And so then anything I did after that was building a lifestyle. Anything I did after that was, long-term retirement type of stuff. But I could get up every day and just get my routine going, and get gone and get a lot accomplished as early as possible. And since then, I've learned a lot about that. If you get up every day at 5 o'clock, and compared to someone who gets up at 7 o'clock, if you do the numbers, by the end of the year, you have almost a whole month longer that you've been doing what you do than the average person, because you added 2 hours to your day. And so anyway, that's probably what I would say, is just don't hesitate. Just set a goal, get up every day, same time, same place, same station, and do the same thing, and believe that it'll work, and it will.
Thank you very much. That's fantastic advice. Do it over and over. Believe that it will work, and it will. Get up, get going, take on this day, everyone. Don't sit back and wait for the day to happen to you. If you really want to get to that next level in your life, you're going to set a routine. And you'll notice the theme over all of these interviews, I do always ask, what is that routine in the morning? And it's different for every single person. There is not a magical formula that works for everyone. There's not, but you need to understand what works for you so that you can take advantage of your strengths and take advantage of where you're going. We've had great instruction from Cowboy, Joseph Equine Kimball. I just put equine in there. I'll probably see you out on the street and I'll call you, hey, equine. But, we just had great instruction from Joseph Kimball. I just want to thank you for coming on the show today. And thank you for your words of wisdom.
Oh, it's humbling to get interviewed by anyone, but I appreciate your interest, and I want you to know that I believe in what you're doing. Podcasts and things of this nature about leadership and happiness, they are too few. You couldn't have too many of these things and get people involved so that they can get hope and believe that they can change the things and overcome the adversity that's in their life. So I applaud you, and I'm thankful to maybe help your audience or anyone that might just not give up today because of my message.
Thank you very much. All right, Joseph, have a great day. Thanks for coming on.
You too. Thank you so much, Mark. Have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.